Hey, somebody's already in here. Dark out tonight. I hope you guys can see me okay. Got one person in here so far. Give me a second here. Let me try to get logged in over on the other side so I'll be able to see the chat and stuff. Why isn't it working? Already starting with that. Alright, I cannot get my things to work right for some reason here. See if maybe when I refresh the page, there we go. Now we're getting in here. Hey there, who's that? Natalie and Wanda. Hello to both of you. Thanks for joining tonight. Who else we got in the chat tonight? Or in the video, I guess I should say. Oh, hopefully you guys can see me okay. Hopefully it's not stuttering too bad. Who's that? Vincent. Hey Vincent, how are you doing? Little J 1027. My trip. Thank you for asking. My trip was pretty good. It's always, I mean, it's not incredibly exciting going over there, but it wasn't bad. I was there with somebody that actually spoke some Spanish this time, so that was a little bit better. All in all, pretty good trip. We got a lot done. It was productive, so all in all, it was pretty good. Who else we got in here? Saul's Little Farm. Good evening. How are you doing? Matthew. Hello. How are you? M. Baker. And Deplorable Infidel, hello to you guys. Thanks for joining. Glad you can make it. Glad I could make it tonight. Boy, I tried. I'll tell you what, every time I go down there, I plan on thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and do a live broadcast from down there. And it's so difficult for me to find the time to do that sometimes. So I apologize for missing last week. But anyway, back this week. So I'm glad to be back. It's been a crazy, busy week this week. Had clients in and just... Oh man, busy. I went to work yesterday at, let's see, I left the house at 7. I didn't get home till 9:30 last night. Today was a little better, but, and tomorrow's Friday, so could be worse. I'm going to have to check my internet connection. For some reason, things are going slow tonight. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Uh-oh. Max, hey, hush. My dog sees the neighbor and he's going crazy over the neighbor. No, so Isabel, well, hey, thank you. I'm glad I'm back too. Hopefully the dog's not too noisy in the background. Max, hush. Hush. Yeah, no use. You're just going to have to deal with him barking here for a few minutes. All right, so where were we? I'm sorry, I'm a little, like I said, busy week, craziness going on. Little, I don't know, disjointed tonight. Not quite what I'm usually up to. But, again, glad to be home, glad to be back, glad to see you guys in chat again. I missed you guys last week. I didn't get to get in here and chat with everybody, and I kind of missed that. Prashath. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Hello to you. Glad you can make it in. All right, I don't know if you guys noticed I missed a quail video last week. I shot the video, downloaded it on my computer, took it all with me, and worked on it in the hotel room. And the video was just, it was just terrible video quality. It was all blown out for some reason. Couldn't hardly see anything. It was all, it was terrible. So I didn't get that video edited and get that posted, but I did get the rabbit video posted last week. And let's see, this week I got a rabbit and a quail video posted, so hopefully everybody enjoyed those videos. And who's that? Og? Hi, Og. How are you doing? And who's that? Nelson. Hey, Nelson. How are you doing? I am getting a very bad internet connection tonight, so I hope it's not lagging in the video too much. Hope there's not too many breaks there. Giant Angoras. How are you doing? Good to see you back again. All right, what do we want to talk about tonight? San Antonio's 6-count family. You know, the guy I was in the Dominican Republic with last week was from San Antonio. So, who knows? Maybe he's a neighbor of yours or something. Clint, hello. How are you doing? Prashant says, my farming techniques are good. Well, thank you so much. I don't know that I'd call it farming. I don't know what I'd call it exactly. I mean, I live right here in the middle of the city, so I can't, can't really do great big farm animals and all those kinds of things. But the rabbits, the quail, and the garden, they do pretty good to supply me with quite a bit of my needs as far as food goes, and feed my family quite a bit as well. I have found a little bit of a market for some quail lately. I went ahead and sold some out of my last hatch. They were 5 weeks old, sold them for $5 a piece. Ended up selling, how many did I sell? $40 worth. So paid for my feed for all my quail. And now I'm still getting people requesting the quail, wanting to know when I'm going to have some more. I actually do have some that are a week old in the brooder box. And so they will probably sell another, I don't know, 10 or 15. I got 45 quail hatched. So I'll probably sell another 15 or so of those to pay for the feed for the quail going forward. So that's actually working out pretty well. All right, so let's see. We've got Lil J's asking, what is your opinion on the All-Tex breed of rabbit? We are getting a white New Zealand doe and an All-Tex buck for our first breeding pair. I've heard good things about them. I don't have personal experience with them, but from what I understand, they make a pretty good meat rabbit. And I think they should work out really well for you. So congratulations on that. Hope it works out. Okay, any plans for a fall-winter garden? Boy, 6 count, I'm trying to get some of that stuff done. It's just, man, things have gotten ahead of me this year. I've got to do some work in the garden to clean it up. Probably about the only thing I'll get planted in the fall. It's already fall. I mean, our first frost date was a couple of days ago. We didn't get a frost, but that's our average first frost date. So, I'm cutting it kind of close to get anything going. Might get some garlic in the ground. I plan on doing that. I just haven't got to it yet. If I do, I'll probably shoot some video on that. We'll see. It's almost too late to put it in the ground, but I think I can still get away with it. So, if anything, it'll probably be garlic, and that'll probably be about all I get growing in the fall. What is the max? Oh, happy future Thanksgiving to you too, Giant Angora. All right, Nelson's asking, what is the max temperature and min temperature for incubator quail egg? Well, it's the same, 99.5. There is no max min, 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what you want to incubate at if you have a forced air, circulating air incubator. If it's still air, then you want to go to 100. And that's it. No less, no more. 100 or 99.5, that's it. I've got a whole series of videos you might check back on my channel. They're under a playlist called Storing and Hatching Eggs, and it'll walk you through how to store them, how to incubate them, all that stuff. And you'll find all the information you need in there, so hopefully that helps out. Ashton says, when would be a good time to start breeding rabbits? I'm new to this, and I'm curious on temperature of outside. I live in Louisiana, and it's been about the mid-80s lately. Well, I just posted a video on that, actually, just Tuesday, a couple of days ago. It's time for me to start breeding here because it's finally fall. We've finally gotten out of the 80s. We're in about the 70s during the day most days, and down in the 40s or 50s at night. So when it cools off, anything really, when it's down below about 80s for your average temperature, that usually works out pretty well for breeding rabbits. I don't like to breed them when it's any hotter than that because it just puts a lot of stress on them. They've got that big fur coat on, and they don't really do well in the heat. So I tend to wait until the temperature has dropped down below the 80s for an average high, and hopefully that answers that too. Prashant says you're from India. Well, says I'm from India, not me. Him is from India. So I actually used to. I worked for a call center, and we had an office in India, and I dealt with a lot of people in India. Had some good friends over there. I never got a chance to go over and visit anybody, but boy, we talked all the time, and I've lost kind of connection with those guys now. But I hope they're doing well. All right, what else we got here? Giant Angora says you have a Giant Angora for sale in May for $250. Wow, that's an expensive rabbit. I hope you can sell it. Max! Hey! Hush! I can't get the dog to shut up. He's going to just bark. Alright, hey, your buck's 4 months old and he has 4 fall-offs on 3 different does and none are preggers. Random sterile buck. No, I think Giant Angora's is probably right. He's probably a little too young. You might wait till he gets to be about 5.5, 6 months old, somewhere right around in there, and he'll probably perform really well for you at that point. 4 months is pretty young to be breeding rabbits. All right, let's see. Dakota says, what time should you stop breeding rabbits? I think you mean what season, what time of the year, because Heck, you can breed them, 9 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever time you want to. But I think you're asking about what season of the year do you want to stop breeding them. Again, I just stop breeding in the hottest parts of summer. So around here, that's going to be like July, August, September, and sometimes August. So usually it's, mid-July, somewhere right around in there. I stop all my breeding, try to have all my babies born by, mid-July. And then I don't breed again until fall, until October usually. It just kind of depends on the year. When the temperatures start climbing back up into the high 80s or, in the mid 80s on the average, then that's when I usually stop my breeding. So it depends on where you're from, what time of year that's going to be, but that works well for me. Well, let's see, what is that? Trench Annan, I think is your name. You said his testicles have dropped, so you thought that was the difference. Well, it could be. And it could be, I mean, if it is real hot out there, it could be that he is just got some sterility. Sterility, is that a word? I don't know. He is sterile maybe for a temporary time because of the heat. But my guess is probably he's still just a little bit on the young side. Max, shut up. I mentioned we're still working on obedience training with the dog. He hasn't quite figured it out yet. He's just found his voice. So you guys can probably hear him barking in the background. All right, so Prashant says, how do you improve your hatch rate? Series is very awesome. You learned a lot from it. Thank you. Keep sharing your experience. Well, thank you so much for watching that. I'm glad that it helped out. And I appreciate the kind words. Okay, Giant Angora wants to know, what breed is my dog? I think you guys have seen my dog. Most of you guys probably have seen him. He is a Pit Bull Pointer mix. So great dog. He's just, he's still a puppy. He's only 6 months old. He has grown tremendously since I first got him. But I don't think he's going to be a huge dog. Probably around 60 pounds, somewhere right around in there. He's about 40 pounds right now. If he ever comes up here, I'll see if I can get him up here, show him in the camera, and let you guys take a look at him. All right, Platini, hey to you too. Trench Hand says you have an indoor setup, 70s all year round. That's pretty nice. Yeah, age may be the problem with him, so don't be mean to the dog, huh? No, I'm not being mean to my dog. Don't worry. He's a good dog. We're not mean to him at all. And Michelle wants to know, how was my trip to the Dominican Republic? Well, my trip was okay. It wasn't bad. It was pretty good, actually. Like I kind of mentioned that at the beginning of the video. It was productive. We got a lot done from a work standpoint. Don't get a chance to really get out much while I'm there. I don't speak Spanish, and there's a fairly high crime rate, so they tell you, don't go walking around at night by yourself. But I was there with somebody that did speak Spanish, so that helped a little bit. We were able to order dinner without too much problem, so that worked out pretty well. All in all, it was a pretty good trip. Glad to be home, though. Glad to be back in my own bed with my wife, in my house, eating my food, It's all good. Well, thank you, Trench Annan. I'm glad that you find the content valuable, and thank you very much for watching, and continue to watch. Your neighbor has one. Giant Angora, your neighbor has one what? I'm not sure what you're referring to. A dog? Six Count Family says, do you go purely rabbit feed in the winter? Six Count, I honestly feed rabbit feed. That's all I feed, is rabbit feed and hay. That's it. And I feed that all year long. Because, to me, I've only got the 3 rabbits right now. Of course, I'll have babies. I'll have a lot more whenever they're born. But to me, growing food for the rabbits is just a lot of work that it just adds a whole lot to it, and a lot of complexity to feeding them, to making sure I get everything right, and growing all that stuff and harvesting all that stuff. It's just too much work for me. So yeah, I just buy rabbit feed and I feed them. I've got a pretty good, I buy it from a local feed store, pretty good mix of rabbit feed, and that's what I use. Seems like the dog is having fun. Yeah, the dog is having fun. He always has fun. He's a puppy. He's 6 months old. So pretty much everything is fun. Everything is fun for him. What is the best rabbit for grass feeding? Matthew Tompkins wants to know. Well, rabbits don't really eat grass. They will eat, not like the grass that grows in your yard. They don't really eat that. Pretty much any rabbit, though, can be, be fed greens. You just need to make sure you transition slowly. If you're going to transition from pellets to greens, you do that slowly and not just all at once, because it can cause all kinds of problems with their digestive system. But if you want to put a rabbit out on pasture, you're going to have a very big area probably. They're going to need a lot more. They'll eat a lot of the weeds and some of those kinds of things that sprout up, but they don't really eat grass. But just about any rabbit's going to be you're going to be able to do that with. There's not any certain rabbit that's better for that than any other. So Vinter says, what quail is better to start with, JMF Jumbo Pharaoh, wild type, or Jumbo Brown meat makers for eggs? Well, you know, really, Vintar, it just kind of depends. There are benefits to each one. The meat makers tend to grow just a little bit faster, maybe get just a little bit bigger, not much. The Jumbo Pharaohs lay slightly bigger eggs. Not tremendously bigger, but slightly bigger eggs. I went with Jumbo Pharaohs myself because I find that they grow out pretty close to the same as the meat makers, but again, they lay slightly bigger eggs, and I really wanted the egg production out of it. So it really kind of depends on, you know, what you're looking for in a bird. All right, chat's coming pretty quick, so if I miss your comment and I don't get it answered, I'm sorry for that. I apologize. Let's see. Dakota says, you have 6 to 7 week old rabbits. When should I butcher? When they get to be about 5 pounds. Some rabbits, that's 8 weeks. Some that's closer to 12 weeks. I usually wait till they get to be real close to 12 pounds, or excuse me, 5 pounds, and that's when I butcher my rabbits. So again, I try to get rabbits that will reach that within 8 weeks. So if my doe is producing young and it takes them 12 weeks to get that way, then I get rid of that doe, I find another doe, I replace her, and I try to find one that when she produces young, they grow out to that size in about 8 weeks. Excuse me, dry throat today. All right, what else we got here? All right, so the average fisherman says, hello, Chris. I had a rabbit choked to death. I tried many different things, including the rabbit Heimlich maneuver, with no success. Have you ever had this happen, and what do you do? Average fisherman, I have never had that happen with one of my rabbits. You know, there's multiple things that could cause that. If it's something stuck in their throat, then I think what you did was probably the best thing that you could do. I don't know that there's a whole lot of other things that you can do. Rabbits can't vomit, so, you know, giving them a little bit of help with that could help, could help them expel whatever it is that's clogged in their throat. That's a tough situation. All right, Platini Lambert wants to know if rabbits can eat spinach. They can eat spinach. You don't want to give them nothing but spinach, and again, you want to give it in small amounts if you're not feeding them greens already. You want to transition them to that kind of stuff pretty slowly. But yes, spinach is on the okay for rabbits to eat diet. You don't want to feed them leaf lettuce, iceberg lettuce, any of those kinds. Romaine is okay in small amounts, but not huge amounts. You have a quail. Okay, Carissa says, I have a quail that's constantly crowing all night long, just into maturity. Any way to stop this? Well, there's a couple things you can do to probably limit that a little bit. If he's not with females, put him with females. He might calm down a little bit as he gets to breed the females a little. The other thing is keep the lights off. Keep him a little bit in the dark. That seems to kind of help calm him down a little bit. And just be patient, because as they grow a little bit older, they kind of calm down on the crowing quite a bit. But yeah, when they first hit maturity and start crowing, when they first find their voice, boy, they go to town. They're crowing all the time. But yeah, if you just wait a little while, usually about 2 weeks, and they kind of calm down after that. You had a dog jump on your shoulders, and now you're afraid of dogs. I'm sorry to hear that. I love my dog. Dogs are great. But yeah, I could see how that would be a little bit terrifying if you didn't know the dog very well, or if it was a real big dog. Dakota says, what if you can't weigh them? I think you're referring back to asking when should you butcher rabbits. Well, just kind of guess. When they look like they're big enough for a meal, then that works out just fine. It's really up to you when you want to butcher them. I'd wait till at least 8 weeks old. But other than that, it's up to you. If they look big enough, go ahead and butcher them. Hey, Tracy, how are you doing? Tyler, how are you? Good, glad you can make it. Okay, Michelle says, I know you I planted seeds of an apple, grew around 1.5 inches, but then buckled over and died. Do you need cold weather all the time, or are they okay in sun like we have year round? Okay, apples. You probably don't want to grow apples from a seed, because most of them will not grow true to form. They're not heirloom. They're more like hybrids usually. So you could get a red delicious apple. You take a seed, you plant it, and it grows a tree, and you might get crab apples. You never know. It's probably not going to be an apple that's worth eating. You're better off buying an apple tree and planting an apple tree, or getting a graft off a tree, grafting onto some rootstock, and growing it from there. So, but yes, they can grow. They don't need cold weather all the time. I'm not an expert on apples, but I do think that they do need a winter. I know that you have to stratify the seeds if you plan on planting them, which you can do just by throwing them in the fridge. But check into different varieties that might grow in your climate. There are probably some that are specific to your planting zone. And if you don't know what that is, go online, just look up, planting zone calendar, and it'll bring it up and show it for you. Like we're in planting zone 6B here, and apples grow just fine here, but I don't know exactly where you're at, how they would grow there. All right, Bird Breeder says, hello from New York. Question about your Listerine spray for your quail eggs. Okay, what's the question? 50% gold Listerine, 50% water, and you just spray them down. I spray them down whenever I collect them, and then I spray them down one more time right before they go in the incubator. Once they go in the incubator, no more spraying down. Just you leave them at that point. I don't know if that answered your question, but if you got more, then let me know. The dog's wound up. Hey, come here. Come here. Calm down. Calm down. Sorry, I got to get the dog calmed down just a second. All right. Doug, hi, how are you doing? Let's see. Karen, is that you? Says, yeah, Karen, I think it is. Do you have any ideas on how to bond older rabbits with younger ones? My mature female is very territorial and often tries to bite the younger ones. That's probably what she's going to do, especially if you've got them in cages. It's not a good idea. It's better to keep them separate. If you're doing like colony settings, then you're just going to have to make sure they got plenty of room, they got places they can get to hide, to get out of the way and stay away from them. But yes, female rabbits tend to get very territorial. In the wild, they don't live in groups. They live solitarily. So it's not in their nature necessarily to bond together, and it may be very difficult for you to do. It can be done, but it may be, like I said, very, very difficult. Wish I had better news for you, but unfortunately, I don't raise rabbits in colonies myself. I raise them in cages. It just works out better for me, easier for me. There are some groups you might look at. There's a Facebook group, Raising Rabbits in Colonies, I think, that you might be able to join, and they could probably answer that question a little bit better than I could because, like I said, I raise rabbits. I know a lot about rabbits, but not as much about them in colony settings. So sorry I can't answer that better, but hopefully that helps, gives you some direction where you can get the answer. Giant Angora says, you wish you could meet me one day. Well, you never know. Maybe we'll run into each other someday. You couldn't find any apple plants on Amazon. You know, Michelle, what I would do is actually go to like a local nursery or a local plant store, whatever that is in your area, and ask them about it. They'll be able to tell you what species grows in your area, if there are any that do, and they can probably order one in for you. And you'll probably get a better deal than just ordering it off Amazon. You'll get a better quality stock. So that's where I would kind of go with that. Oh, average fisherman, you got some quail eggs that went into lockdown today. Well, good luck with those. I hope those work out well. Bird Breeder wants to know if I spray my eggs directly after collecting them, or do I spray them before getting ready to set? We've seen your videos for the 2 times you spray them. Just wanted to know if the first time... Yep, I answered the question for you. Got it. Okay, good. I was thinking, didn't I just answer that? But yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm getting a bad connection. I can't help it that the live stream is really choppy tonight. Sorry about that, guys. I'm getting a bad connection for some reason. Doing the best I can to work through it, but the issues with internet sometimes. Okay, Dakota wants to know why I do the Listerine spray on the eggs. Well, it's basically it kills the bacteria. It keeps them kills the bacteria. That's it. It keeps bacterial issues down, so it can really help increase your hatch rate. One of the issues with poor hatches sometimes is bacterial problems, and spraying them down like that can kill all that bacteria, make them a little bit healthier, and make your hatch rates a little bit better. So that's really why I do that. All right, Giant Angora says you're in Washington near Oregon, pretty far away. Well, you never know. Maybe I'll make a trip up there someday for some reason, and we'll run into each other. Who knows? Michelle Richards says you don't have any nurseries, plant stores, big box stores like Lowe's or Home Depot or any of those things near you. Those would be the places I usually go and find trees for sale. You might, other than Amazon, then you could look online and just do apple trees for sale or trees for sale, and you can look up nurseries that will ship to you, and that would be something that might work out too. That's okay, Giant Angora. You have a good night, too. Thanks for joining for the time you did. Rain Tree Nursery, Annette Anderson came up. Michelle, check Rain Tree Nursery. They're a great source of apple trees, apparently. Thank you for that suggestion. And Homestead says, thank you for all the information. Well, thank you for watching. I'm glad that you're finding it helpful. And there's another suggestion. Columnar apple trees is a one-stock apple tree, 18 pounds per year, and can be raised in a container. I thought that was a prank, but they're really awesome. I've never heard of those before. That sounds interesting. I don't really like apples all that much. I mean, they're okay, but I don't eat that many of them, so I don't grow any apple trees myself. Look at that, Clint. Clint lives right on the border to Washington as well. So small world, huh? You guys want to talk about small world? I'll tell you kind of a funny story. I got on the plane. If you guys don't know, I live in Joplin, Missouri. Most of you guys probably don't even know where that is. It's in the southwest corner of Missouri. But I got on the plane in Santiago, Dominican Republic, to fly back home. And I don't fly directly into Joplin. Flew to Miami, and then from Miami to Dallas, and then Dallas to Joplin. So anyway. So I'm getting on the plane in Santiago. We get up in the air, and the girl behind me is just chattering up a storm, and she says something about Joplin. So it caught my ear, and I turned around. I said, did you say Joplin? She said, yeah, I said Joplin. I said, Joplin, Missouri. She said, yeah. I said, well, that's where I'm from. That's where I'm going to. She said, oh, yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, Kansas, which is like a 20-minute drive from here. And what a small world, huh? What are the odds that Santiago, Dominican Republic, there's going to be somebody that lives 20 miles away from me sitting right behind me on the plane, small world. She was a dental assistant there with a dentist, and they were doing some kind of a humanitarian effort to, free dental work, and it's some kind of mission thing. I don't think it was like a religious mission, just a humanitarian effort, but still, hey, much more noble cause than I was there for. I was there for work. But anyway. All right, let's see what we got here. With rabbits, any experience with double breeding? Get fall-offs, and then at 12 weeks, do it again. That's a pretty common practice with a lot of people that are looking for, like, intense breeding, like wanting lots of rabbits. I don't do that personally. Usually what I do is I wait until the babies are, I wait until the babies are like 6 weeks old. So that's going to be, let's see, 30 days, and then another month and a half. So that's going to be 4, 8, well, I guess it's pretty close to 12 weeks, isn't it? So the babies aren't completely weaned yet. They're about 6 weeks old, so they're just getting ready to be weaned, and then I can breed the female again. That gives her, 2 weeks, and then usually I'm pulling the rabbits off. I'm butchering at that point, and then she's 2 weeks without young before she has another litter at that point. So I guess that's pretty close to 12 weeks later. Wondered about rabbit jerky. I have not tried to make rabbit jerky yet. Actually, I did one time with the belly flaps, and I did it in the oven, and it was okay. It wasn't anything great. I think I let them dehydrate just a little too long. They were a little bit on the crispy, crunchy side, and it wasn't really all that good. But I'll try it again at some point. Who knows? All right, Natalie Lopez says, Natalie, I recognize your name. I think we've talked a couple of times before. Says you have an aggressive 10-month-old Dutch buck. Do you have any advice to help calm him down to be less aggressive? And by aggressive, I mean he bites very hard. Well, honestly, you could do a couple of things, and that's just work with him constantly, bring treats to his cage when you come, make sure you talk to him before you go to pet him. He may be, he may not be able to see very well, so it may be that he's aggressive because you're startling him. So there's a couple of options you could do there. If it doesn't work, if he's just super aggressive, I think I would just eat him and get a new rabbit. Rabbits are plentiful around here, and I know that sounds harsh, but I don't have time to deal with an aggressive, hateful rabbit. I just eat them for dinner and replace them. But, that's me. Maybe I'm cold and heartless. I don't know. Really, Trench Ann, you said you used to work in Cave Springs, Oklahoma, and go to church in Joplin, huh? I'm not sure where Cave Springs is. But, yeah, it must be close if you went to church in Joplin. So, small world, huh? Who knows? We may know some of the same people. Okay, Dakota said, I asked a while back, but can you make rabbit jerky video? Well, if I ever make rabbit jerky successfully, then yes, I'll make a video on it, and I will share that with you guys. So, Michelle says, 20 miles away is almost going around my whole island. That's funny. You think it's a short distance, and we think it's such a long drive. Yeah, 20 miles isn't that far here. It's only, Heck, I don't even think it's 20 miles. It's only a 20-minute drive or so, 20 to 30-minute drive, so it's not even quite 20 miles. Dakota, I might remember that. Honestly, I get so many comments and so many questions, it's hard for me to keep up with who asked what. I do know people have asked me about rabbit jerky before, and it was probably you. I probably do remember that being asked. So Tracy wants to know, how are things in Dominica after Irma? The news said they got hit pretty hard. Well, there was Irma, and then a week later it was it Maria, the next one that came through? And they didn't get a direct hit there. They got kind of the outskirts of it. There was lots of localized flooding, whole lot of it, but only for like a day, and they're pretty much fine at that point, at least in Santiago. Now, closer to the coast, Puerto Plata, some of those areas, it might be a little bit worse. I didn't get to visit those places, but from what I understood, everything seems to be doing pretty good. Natalie says, thank you for the advice. Well, you're more than welcome. Dominica is different to Dominican Republic. Oh, okay. I don't know where Dominica is then. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not great with geography, though. It's not my strong suit. A camp area called Sky Ranch. I think you're talking about the place you lived in Oklahoma. I'm not familiar with Sky Ranch either. I haven't heard of that before. And Michelle, thank you so much for watching the videos. I'm glad that you found them helpful. And Dakota, it was you that asked about the rabbit jerky. Well, I've had a few. I always get questions about pickled eggs too, pickled quail eggs, and I just don't like pickled eggs. So I don't. Maybe I'll try it again at some point. Try a different recipe. But the eggs that I've had that are pickled, not really my thing. Which is odd because I like just about everything. But who knows? I can do another video on those if I ever find a recipe that works out well. All right, let's see. Chat's slowed down a little bit here. Pickled eggs sound weird. Well, you know, I got people that just love them. People I work with and stuff are like, oh, I love pickled eggs. Make some sometime and bring them to me. But that's a lot of work just to give away to somebody, and if I don't like them, so who knows. All right, let's see. Isabel says she found Dutch rabbits are naturally hyper and bite. Well, you know, it could be breed specific. New Zealand's tend to be, I mean, it's iffy. The bucks, what I find with mine is the bucks tend to be pretty mellow. The does are the ones that tend to be a little bit iffy, and they don't usually bite, but boy, they can be jumpy, and they can scratch the heck out of you with those back feet. All right, try the bread and butter recipe with jalapenos added. Well, you know, that sounds pretty good. I like bread and butter pickles. I love jalapenos. That might make them a little bit better, but I think it was more of a texture thing to me than, and I'm not a texture guy. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but what they kind of reminded me were of those like pickled sausages you get that come like one in a package. I don't remember what they're called, but they kind of reminded me of those. They were very similar to those. I have never smoked eggs, but I have thought about doing that, and I'm going to try it someday, and when I do, I will make sure that I shoot video and share that with all you guys. I hear smoked eggs are great. All right, what else we got here? So this is my first time raising rabbits. I have a doe and a buck, and your teacher told me that they should be ready to breed, and when I put them together, nothing happens. Oh, so when you put your buck and your doe together, the buck doesn't try to breed the female? Is that what you're saying? If so, you know, the biggest thing with that, either he's not old enough, if he's not 6 months old roughly, that could be it, he's not old enough. Make sure you've got a buck and a doe. I know it sounds silly, but people have oftentimes thought that's what they had, and then when they check them later, they find out they got 2 does. You know, so check that and make sure that's right. The other thing would be make sure he's not overweight. If he's been eating too much and he's overweight, that can make him a little bit lazy and make him not want to breed. So that's another thing to kind of look at there. Clint, you have a good night too. Thanks for stopping by. Will rabbits eat jalapeno? You know, I don't know. I've never tried to feed them jalapeno. I don't think, let's see, I'm trying to remember, jalapenos are, I can't remember if jalapenos are a nightshade or not. I don't think they are, but if they are, like tomatoes, you don't want to feed them tomato leaves. You probably don't want to feed them jalapeno leaves either. I guess you could try to feed them jalapenos. I don't think that they would like it. I don't think it's something that they'd eat. They never have eaten my jalapenos in my garden before, so I just doubt it. Michelle's wanting to know if my wife got the quail incubation thingy good. You were leaving her to handle it, I think. Yeah, she did great with it. It's pretty easy. I mean, they went into lockdown the day before I left, so they hatched out like 4 days later, about 2 days before I got home. They started hatching. So she didn't really have to do much but wait until, you know, I came home Saturday night, and Saturday morning she moved them all to the brooder box. But she did fine. They all 45 birds hatched out of like 50 eggs set, and she took care of them all for me, did great. Okay, the average fisherman says, what resources do you use to sell rabbits and quail if you do? I don't really sell rabbits. I've posted a few and sold 1 or 2 here and there, but there's not much of a market. It's too saturated here. Too many people selling rabbits around here. For selling quail, I generally just put an ad on Craigslist because I'm very seldom selling more than like 15 or 20 of them at the most. And I find that any other resource is just, if I don't really want to get, you know, people hit me up all the time. I'm not a big-time breeder. So Craigslist usually does a good job for me. I'll usually sell, you know, 10 to 20 of them on Craigslist, and then out of each hatch, and that usually pays pretty much for my quail food. All right, so Doug Ellen said, I was told that you got to do a cold smoke after you hard boil the eggs, but after that I have no clue. My buddy is going to try that with store-bought eggs. You can actually smoke them, and that will it won't be hard boiled. They'll be smoked, but just like hard boiled. I can't remember the time that you do it or the temperature you do it. It's pretty quick and it's not incredibly hot, but I don't remember exactly the specifics. If you just do a Google search for how to smoke eggs, you'll find it. Quail eggs are going to take significantly less than chicken eggs, of course. Natalie, no, rabbits don't always breed like rabbits when you want them to. Now, if it's a problem with the female and she's not receptive, like the male's trying to breed, but the female won't lift for him, you know, just try it over and over again. Try her in the morning, try her that night, try her the next morning, try her the next night. And usually after about the 4th time, she's a little bit more receptive after that. It just seems to kind of get that, to take that kind of action sometimes to get them receptive. All right, somebody says she's been eating a lot of grass. What's been eating a lot of grass? I must have missed the first part or forgot. I'm sorry. Also, heat will pull them off breeding, right? Or no? Well, sometimes it could, Leah. More than likely what's going to happen, though, the males are almost always ready to go. Unless they're, like I said, overweight or something like that, they're almost always ready to go. Whether it's hot out or not, they're ready to go. But a lot of times they can go sterile in the heat. So, you know, if it gets up above like 85 degrees and it stays that way for a prolonged time, you can get some temporary issues with sterility. Again, there's that word. I'm not sure if it's a word or not. But yeah, you can get a temporary issue with the bucks going sterile. So they may be breeding, but nothing's happening, so to speak. So cold smoking them is the best in your opinion, Kyle. Okay. Hey, I'm not an expert at smoking eggs, but like I said, I may try it out someday, and I'll share with you if I do. Have I ever considered raising tilapia with an above-ground pool setup? Not really. It gets way too cold in the wintertime here for tilapia. They really can't survive in anything under about 50 degrees, so I could raise them in the summertime, but then I'd have to replace them, or I'd have to put in some kind of like heated, you know, shed or something around the pool for them. And to top it all off, I don't really like tilapia. In my opinion, they're just kind of bland and blah, not really that great. So no, I've never really considered growing them. All right, so Dakota says you have 10 grown-up rabbits and 7 babies that you got 30 minutes to feed in the morning. Well, it shouldn't take too long to feed them. I mean, that's a lot of rabbits, but I don't think it would take you quite 30 minutes to go through and give them all feed. In the wintertime, giving them all water, though, that's a different story. That's a lot more work. Uh-oh. Your rabbit is sneezing. The first thing to do with that, okay, you said, I love gamers. I mean, it could be a cold, but the thing you want to worry about there is snuffles. Get it away from any of your other rabbits. Isolate it, because if it is snuffles or something like that, highly contagious, and it can spread through your whole rabbit herd. You probably want to check with like a farm supply store, Tractor Supply, something like that, and get an antibiotic for it. If it is snuffles, it's very hard to treat. It's kind of a dreaded disease. You may or may not be successful with treating it, and it may end up becoming like a chronic thing. If it's just 1 or 2 sneezes and that's it, and you never see any more, probably nothing to worry about, but I would still quarantine that rabbit for at least 30 days. Keep it away from the rest of your rabbits. Oh, your buck is eating a lot of grass. Okay, well, that's strange. But that shouldn't cause any problems with breeding. I think that's the topic we're on. I forgot. You thought about raising tilapia? Should be relatively quiet. Should be completely quiet. They don't, I mean, fish don't make any noise, right? Other than maybe a splash every once in a while. And if you have the climate for it and you want a good fish harvest, tilapia are great because they breed like crazy in captivity. They grow out pretty quick. So that's a good choice if you like tilapia and you've got the climate for it. Okay, why are they called rednecks? They never hung no black people. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but the term redneck actually refers to a red neck. You know, that's what it comes from. You know, the figure working out in the fields, working in the farms, bent over, doing stuff in the sun, and the back of your neck gets all sunburned and red. That's what redneck refers to. And there's all kinds of connotations, you know, poor white person from the South, you know, all that kind of stuff. But that's really just, who knows? You take it for however you want to. All right, so I Love Gamer says, also about weight, I have a feeder in there, always full, and one has a double chin. Is that good? Well, if it's a female, it's not a double chin, it's a dewlap. And they're supposed to have those. That's where they pull their fur from whenever they have babies. They line their nests with the fur, cover their babies with fur, and that's where they pull it from, is from their dewlap. Common thing, has nothing to do with them being overweight. Now, with that being said, don't keep their feeders full all the time. They will overeat, they will get overweight. You really want to feed them about, depending on what size rabbits they are, mine are 10 to 12 pound rabbits, I feed them about a cup a day. And I just watch the rabbits. If I go back the next morning and there's food still left in the feeder, they didn't clean it all up, I'll feed them a little bit less that day. If I go back in the morning to feed again and the feeder's completely empty, and as soon as I dump the pellets in there, they dive into the feeder and start chowing, I'll feed them a little bit more. But you truly want to feed them only as much as they'll eat within 24 hours. And that'll keep them at a healthy weight. Tracy says, what is tilapia, or what's with tilapia? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, it's a freshwater fish, and you've got to be careful. If you live in some of the southern states, like I think Texas, it may be illegal to keep tilapia, or you may have to have a permit, because they can become invasive if they're released into the lakes or any of those kinds of things. It become a big problem. They're basically like I can't remember, are they African, I think? But they're basically like a perch. I think they're in the perch family. All right, Chloe says, my rabbit had babies last week, and they all died. She stopped eating and not drinking much. Should I take her to the vet? I've read that she could be depressed. I don't know if I'd call it depression, but it does sound like something's wrong. If she's not eating and not drinking, there's probably some kind of health problem going there. You could take her to a vet for sure and have her checked out. It's hard to say what it could be. I'm trying to think through, but if the babies died, it's probably because she wasn't eating and drinking, wasn't producing any milk for them. That would be my guess on that. And I don't know that, I mean, I guess some rabbits could get depressed. It's probably not a major thing, and probably not, I mean, they don't really have, like, they have mothering instincts, but they're not like, you know, like people. Like, if their babies are gone, they just give up on life. They just go back and make more babies. I mean, rabbits are a prey species. They're pretty much inbred to, you know, not really have to worry about their babies being lost too much. That's why they produce so many babies. All right, Trench Annan says, rednecks, Scotch-Irish who were Protestant, wore red handkerchiefs. So with the whole Catholic and Protestant feuds came over too. Rednecks tended to farm a lot, thus sunburned idea came around. Well, you may be right about that too. And it is illegal, I guess, in Texas, unless you have a closed-off pool. Well, I think if you were raising tilapia, you would probably be doing it in a closed-off pool. Something's going on over there my dog's getting to. And I got something in my eye tonight, making it hard to read. All right, what else we got here? I got your males and females all in the same cage. Is that good or bad? I have 2 males and 3 females. Would that cause problems? Yeah, probably so. I would suggest removing them, putting them in separate cages, especially keep your males and your females separate. And you never want to take, once they've been separated, take your males to your females' cage, because females can get very territorial and they can really mess up a male rabbit when you bring them to their cage. So yes, I would get them separated out. It's not really, unless you've got a big area that you're doing like colony style, it's not really a good idea to keep them all together. And if nothing else, you're just going to end up with babies at weird times when you didn't even know you were going to, you know, you're expecting babies, because they'll breed like whenever they want to. All right, so you say your buck only eats half a cup and doesn't quite drink a lot. He has done this in the summer as well as the cold temperatures. Should I be worried he is a New Zealand white? Well, probably not worried. I mean, if he's doing okay, if he doesn't look overly skinny, then he's doing fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Michelle, you've got some good suggestions there. It could be anything. Talking about whoever has the rabbit that was the babies died and the rabbit stopped eating and drinking. You're suggesting septicemia, maybe placenta, may be retained. Who knows? It could be any number of things causing that. But stopped eating and stopped drinking are bad signs for sure, and it doesn't look good. Hopefully Hopefully she will recover quickly. You could check her mouth and make sure she doesn't have some kind of problem in her mouth too, like something jammed in her teeth or something like that. It may be hard to hold her mouth open and check, but that's something else to check too. That would be a simple thing if that's it. I kind of doubt that's the case though. I hope I'm wrong, but not eating, not drinking usually means they're not going to last more than just a couple of days. And I hate to say that, but unfortunately that may be the case. If she does die, it would be best probably to go ahead and open her up. And I know that sounds terrible. I don't know if this is a pet rabbit or what, but it would probably be best to go ahead and open her up and check like the liver, make sure the liver looks good and some of those kinds of things. Because if you have if you have white spots on the liver, then that means you've probably got some disease that you need to treat within your herd. Okay, one of my rabbits haven't been eating much late, and she curls up and keeps her head on the ground mostly. Is she sick? Maybe. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but if she's slowed down on eating, check her stool and make sure that her stool looks good. If it's, thin, like diarrhea, then yeah, she's sick for sure. But lethargic, laying her head on the ground, laying curled up most of the time, not eating much, not drinking much, does kind of seem like it might be some illness in there. All right, how old do rabbits need to be to breed? Usually about 6 months is a good age to start breeding them. Some people will breed a little bit earlier than that, but 6 months is usually about the age that you start breeding. 6 to 8 months. Yeah, some of the giant rabbits, like giant Angoras, giant giant chinchillas, some of those take a little bit longer, like closer to 8 months. The rest of them usually are around 6 months. All right, Natalie Lopez says, my doe has babies that are a few days over 5 weeks, and she likes to try to hump them. Would this be a sign that she needs to be rebred, and if so, when should I wean the babies? You don't really want to start weaning before 5 weeks. I'm not sure that's a sign that she wants to be rebred. That could just be like a dominance thing, like establishing her dominance over the babies. At 5 weeks, they can probably start getting pretty annoying for the mother. But 6 weeks is the youngest that you really want to start weaning them. And when you do, you want to kind of do that slowly. You don't want to pull all the bunnies off of her at once. A couple of them off of her. Watch them to make sure that they don't have any problems with being weaned. There's such a thing called weaning enteritis, where just watch their stool and make sure they don't have diarrhea or any of those kinds of things. If they do, you might want to put them back in with her to get the nutrients from the mother, and that should help clear that up a little bit. But usually about 6 weeks, you should be okay to start weaning them at that point. Having a hard time talking tonight. See if some soda pop will help. All right. Or dead onboard feet. Oh, okay, you're talking about the rabbit that had dead onboard fetuses. Could be a problem with the rabbit that lost all her young and stopped eating. But usually they will reabsorb those. It doesn't really cause much of a problem. It could be, though. Again, could be a number of different things. It's not really, I can't really diagnose that over comments in a YouTube video, unfortunately. All right, do you have any good recipe for cooking wild snowshoe hare? Yeah, take your favorite chicken recipe and substitute the rabbit for it. That's pretty much how you cook rabbit anyway. Doesn't do great fried. I mean, it's okay fried, but it's so lean that frying's not the best in my opinion. So anything that you would bake, braise, pressure cook, any of those kinds of things, crock pot, just whatever you would normally do with chicken, whatever your favorite one is, substitute the rabbit and it's going to turn out great. Your iPad's doing spell check on you, Michelle. I have that problem all the time. Okay, why do you snap their neck? Why don't you cut it like halal or kosher ways, huh? In my opinion, that's... Oh, you're talking about when I dispatch rabbits. Boy, you guys can start off in the middle of the conversation. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay. Why do I snap their neck instead of chop their head off? You know, really, honestly, it's either way. One of the biggest reasons I do it, I think that's a pretty humane way. Snapping their neck seems to be just almost instantaneous, very quick. I don't have any problem with chopping their head off. That's probably a good way too, but I don't have an axe, you know, big enough, feel confident enough with swinging an axe to chop their head off. I guess you could make like some kind of guillotine thing that would do that, but I don't have that. And I think if I was going to do that, what I would do first is knock them on the back of the head with you know, an axe handle or something like that to kind of stun them, and then decapitate at that point. But I don't know. The broomstick method, snapping their neck, seems to work out pretty well. Okay, Wayne White says you love my videos. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And what amount of protein is best for rabbits? Right now I found that 20%, 50-pound bag for 15 bucks. That's great. I try to go anything over about 16%. I like 19 to 20% for my rabbits, especially the young growing out. I do think it does help them grow out a little bit faster. So yeah, if you found 20% protein, 50-pound bag for $15, I say that's a win. That's a pretty good price for a 50-pound bag of rabbit feed. Sounds pretty good. All right, what were you barking at this time, dog? Nothing around? You just spit your drink for the bunny guillotine, huh? That is kind of a funny thought. I'm not sure how you'd go about building that either. You'd have to have a pretty heavy weight on it, I would think, but goodness, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I Love Gamers says, you think I should get chickens? Well, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get chickens. I don't have any plans for it right now, but who knows? I get plenty of eggs from the quail, more than I can eat, so I don't really need chickens for that. I thought about adding a few ducks, because duck eggs on a fried egg sandwich are just so fantastic. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. I do the fish. Hey, you almost missed it. I'm about ready to be signing off here in a couple of minutes, but just hanging out here for a few more minutes, waiting on some of the comments to come in, making sure I get all the comments answered the best I can before I sign off here, go have dinner with my wife and family. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm not as lively as I normally am. You may have noticed that. Like I said, it's just been a long week. I'm pretty tired, pretty beat, so if I'm just coming across a little bit blah tonight, I'm so sorry about that. When do I do these streams? I try to do them every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. And I usually, unless I'm out of town on business or something like that, I usually am pretty good about getting in here on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock Central Time. And usually, like I said, I'm a little bit more lively than I am tonight. So, sorry if I'm a little bit blah. Alright, is it common for the first-time moms to forget to clean off one of the babies? She had a baby suffocate because of the membrane thing. Yeah, that's not uncommon. That kind of stuff happens. It's also not uncommon for a first-time mom to get a little bit over-aggressive with cleaning the babies and end up eating one of them or two of them, or chewing their legs off or something gross like that. It's just it happens with first-time moms a lot of the times. Don't stress about it, and she's probably going to be fine on her next litters. Okay, so Doug wants to know, what's the breed of does you again? Whoa, where'd that go? I know about the silver fox, but what's the other one? The other rabbit I have, the other doe, is a New Zealand Flemish Giant cross. So we'll see how well her babies do. What brand of pellets has a high protein? I've been trying to find a good high protein feed. You know, I don't know specific brand because I buy it. It's a local brand. It's from a local feed mill that I get my rabbit pellets from. It's not something you'd probably be able to get in your area. I want to say that there's some Purina brands out there that do pretty good. I've heard some people had some pretty good feedback on, but I don't have personal experience with them. But I suggest if you're looking for feed, try to find a local feed store, a farm supply store, something like that, and see if you can get your feed from them. If they don't have it, they may be able to order it in. All right, what else? You have a silver fox rabbit, and the mama had one baby, and then she waited 24 hours before she had the rest of her litter. Is that normal? I wouldn't say it's normal, but again, it's not really that abnormal. It is a little bit odd, but I've seen it happen before in my rabbits. Usually it's like a one-time thing and never happens again. But it's not, I don't think it's anything to worry about, really. So Isabel, letting me get ready to go offline. Night to you and yours. Well, hey, thank you for joining tonight. Like I said, even though I'm a little bit blah, then I'm glad to be here. It's good to hang out with you guys. And I Love Gamers wants to know, what is my wife cooking for dinner? Well, I don't think my wife's even home from work yet, but she will be shortly. I actually do most of the cooking in the house. Not that she's not capable. She's a great cook. She does fine. I just tend to, I don't know why, just tend to do most of the cooking. So I don't know what we're going to have for dinner tonight. It's just her and I, so who knows? We may just go grab something quick and easy. All is good. Great night. Lots of great info. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Again, thank you for joining. Well, thank you for continuing to watch the content, too. Michelle says Central Time. My time here is 8:52. What time is it there? It's 7:52 here. So we're an hour behind you, Michelle. After daylight savings time, we'll probably be 2 hours behind you. But that's not until like mid-November. God bless you too, Trench Annan. Make a cooing rabbit episode. I don't know what a cooing rabbit is. Oh, you like my Second Amendment shirt? Yeah, on the back, I'll show you the back. Because you guys have probably seen this shirt before, but the back, it's, you know, the Constitution. I don't think I can, this is awkward, weird. I don't know if you can read the back, but it's like, we the people, you know, the right to bear arms, that kind of thing, Constitution. I don't know if that showed up on film. I can't look over my back, and there we go. A well-regulated militia, all that is on there, so hopefully that showed up. It's a great shirt. I love it. This is one my wife bought for me. All right, guys, I'm going to be signing off here. I'm going to go to bed. You want to see the dog real quick? Any of you guys seen the dog before? I showed him on a live video quite a while back, but we'll see. I don't know if any of you guys were online to see that. Come here, Max. Let's show it off. Come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh, he's almost too big to pick up anymore. Oh, my goodness, he's heavy. Here he is. There's Max. Say hi, buddy. Say hi. He's a little freaked out. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't get to sit on my lap very often. All right, get down. Good boy. All right, guys. Thanks for joining tonight. Hope you guys all have a great night. And as always, guys, God bless.